Good evening, wonderful people on a Wednesday night. How we doing? Happy Wednesday, y'all. Welcome back to Cruising Complete. Where you're not cruising, you're losing. All right, y'all. I got some guests coming in tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit about some different things, cruising world, and get some different people's opinions from some different views. So we have Sierra. Hi, Sierra. Your mic is not working. So Sierra said her mic might not be working. So we'll test her out and see if that works. If not, she's having technical issues. But there's Sierra, and we have special guest Zach from Coker Culture. Zach, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty darn good. It's been a long day. So I'm going to call it a night early tonight, but really excited to be on here. And thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming and joining us and letting us pick your brains a little bit about your cruise experience. And
Absolutely.
so I'm always trying to figure out. I've been cruising my whole life. I've been on a lot of cruises. I went when I was a kid a few times and a teenager, and then took a lot of time off. And then into my adult years, when I started again right before COVID, I kind of went big into it and just fell back in love with it and do it numerous cruises a year. And so I just got a passion for it. It's like a hobby of mine, something I enjoy doing. But I'm always trying to figure out like what other people's mindsets are, what inspires them to go on their first cruise, or what inspires them to take another cruise, or what in their decision making plan for their family vacation, what brought them to say, hey, let's do a cruise, or as opposed to just taking a vacation to say Disney World, or just any other part of the country, or take a trip to Europe, or let's do a cruise instead. So I know I met you a little while ago here on YouTube actually, and so I've kind of been following your channel and see what you do a lot of, and a kind of a big mix of things. But you mentioned you've only been on a couple of cruises. So to my knowledge, you've been on Disney Cruise Line, and then you also took a trip on Utopia of the Seas on Royal Caribbean. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that's the gist of your cruising experience so far.
Yeah, we've taken 4 total cruises. The first 3 were all on Disney. All 3 were different Disney ships. And then we just, got out of the Disney bubble this past year and tried out Utopia, wanted to do a different cruise line. So, went with Royal, went with the newest ship. And so that was our first try at something aside from Disney.
Okay. I've got a couple people saying hello here. I'm going to say hello to everybody real quick. Got Danny in here. Hello, Danny. Hope you're doing well on a Wednesday. Cruises on the high seas, Mr. Wholesome. Hello.
Hey there, Rob. Welcome in.
So, my question to you is, when you did your first Disney cruise, what made you take that leap or make that decision to do a cruise as to opposed to a regular like homebound vacation?
Okay. Well, we growing up, myself, my wife, neither one of us grew up in families that cruised. It just, for whatever reason, it wasn't what our families did for vacation. We went to the beach for the most part. And then, every few years we'll do a Disney trip, with Universal, and that would be the big, big, big deal. So we didn't take our first cruise until I think we were both like 32, 33.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was still a family cruise. Like, we went with my parents and my grandparents. And I think the reason that we chose to do that was because my parents had already started going to Disney with our boys over breaks. Like, they started when the boys were in preschool and would just take them to Disney here, there, everywhere. So we wanted to do a trip with everybody that was different than what they had done up to that point. And I think somebody just got the idea of, well, instead of going to Disney parks, let's take a couple days and do a Disney cruise. And so our first cruise, I think it was a short one. It was either a 3 or a 4 night cruise. It wasn't long at all. Because that was my first thought getting off it, was we had so much fun. We loved it so much. That was way too short. When can we do this again? And to the point that we actually went after doing that. I think we did that in February or April. We went on our very next cruise in July. So like we got home, and within a week, 2 weeks of being home, we booked our next cruise for that summer. But then
you had the bug already.
We did. It was immediate. But because we had that love for Disney cruise, that meant this. And so we knew we wouldn't be able to cruise for a while after that. So we weren't planning anything for 2019. Then the pandemic hit. So we didn't end up cruising again until 2023. We didn't cruise at all during those pandemic years when it was reduced capacity, which part of me's kicking myself now, because I feel like that would have been something totally awesome to experience too. But yeah, we've got the bug. And so even though we've only been on 4 now, we've already got 3 more booked over the course of the next, year and a half, 2 years.
I tell you what, man, you touched on the limited capacity. I was fortunate enough, me and my son Cole went right after cruising restarted. We flew down to Nassau because they weren't even leaving out of the United States yet. And we got on a ship out of Nassau, on a Royal Caribbean ship, and did a 7-night sailing. And it was only at 50% capacity. And the atmosphere was so different because we met so many people on that trip that to me is like family, like friends. I still talk to them every day. You know what I mean? You saw the same people over and over on the cruise. It was so different than, like, say, going on Utopia, being at capacity now. You could go on a ship for 7 days and not run into anybody that's in your group. You know what I mean? It's because it's so massive. So it definitely was a different experience. I was really fortunate in being able to do that. And I love that you got the cruise bug as soon as you went on that first cruise, and you're just like, man, I got to go back again and go back again. We got Denise in here. Denise popping in saying hello. I always try to get people's perspective. So you're going back on, you're booking more cruises. From a financial standpoint, where do you see a value of a cruise at as opposed to a land-based vacation?
With a cruise, the best way that I've found to kind of compare it to a vacation that's land-based is comparing it to doing an all-inclusive. If you were to go to, and I typically think of Mexico, but you go to somewhere in the Yucatan and you're at an all-inclusive, so you don't need to go anywhere else. It's all included in the price. So you're not having to worry about gas. You're not having to worry about food, etc. You're not having to worry to pay for entertainment because everything's already included. So what you're paying up front, especially if you go ahead and include your tips, that's pretty much it. And then whatever money else you bring for souvenirs, casino gambling, whatever, that's on you, but it's a lot less money than you have to factor in along the way for a land-based vacation. I know I'm going to pay a couple $1,000 if we're doing a true Disney vacation and staying on a Disney property and getting the tickets and stuff like that. And all that's up front. But I know because of theme park pricing and stuff like that, there's so much hidden money that I have no clue that I'm about to spend until I get there and it's happening.
Absolutely. And I think that was the biggest hook for us as well. Sierra, did you get your mic working yet? Try to talk and see if... No, it's not working. Okay. No worries. You can just watch. You can watch. It'll be all right. She texted me 5 minutes before the show. She's like, my mic's not working. I was like, that's all right. You can just hang out with us. But no, like we used to travel to Tennessee a lot. We'd go up to the mountains, like Pigeon Forge area as a family. We've done that quite a few times. And at the end of the day, by the time you stay a week, we do a 7-night trip, and you'd stay a week in a hotel. And sometimes the hotel would have like a continental breakfast, stuff like that, but no lunches, no dinners. There's no entertainment. And like you said, you go to a theme park, like we go to Dollywood, and then there's no food at Dollywood. You're paying a park entrance fee, which is really high. And then you got food and drinks and all of that on top of it. And that doesn't really include any other form of entertainment. You're going out to restaurants every night to eat dinner. But other than that, like I saw something earlier today, and you're going on Star of the Seas as well. You got that booked in the future as well. But they were talking about the Broadway show, the Back to the Future. I'm really looking forward to that. I love the movies when I was a kid. Went to Universal and rode the ride when it was, when I was a kid. So looking forward to that. But I saw something to where they just made like a musical, like a Broadway musical on land for that back in early 2020s. Call it 2021. I think it was somewhere around there at right post COVID.
Yeah, it may even be still newer than that.
It
I
might
like
be.
it hasn't been out that long.
I can't remember the exact year I saw it, but I saw it in a cruise thread where somebody was mentioning, you don't really, when you go on these cruises, there's a lot of things that you look at that's included that you kind of take for granted, like the shows like that. Because if you were to pay to go to that show on land, you're spending $50-$60 a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Per person to go to that. That's included in your cruise fare, not to mention you have the ice skating show and the diving show, plus all the other entertainment that's provided for you on the ship, all of the complimentary activities, 3 meals a day at minimum. You could eat 24 hours a day on most ships if you wanted to.
And premium meals at that. I mean,
absolutely,
well over $100, for a family of 4, if you're trying to do those meals on land, regardless if it's breakfast or dinner.
Absolutely. So I think when people look at the grand aspect of things and you're planning for a family, you in a similar situation have kids, so you have to plan as a group, as a family. Vacations can get very pricey and expensive really quick. So when people are looking at like the price tag to go on like a Star of the Seas or one of these newer, ships, or like you said, Disney, which Disney's a lot of money compared to other cruise lines. But when you look at the grand scheme of the price tag and what you're paying, and then you add up everything else, if you were to do the same land-based vacation with just a couple of activities sprinkled in throughout the week, cruising, it's a good value.
Absolutely,
it can be a very good value. So, and then if you're willing to go on some of the, I hate to use the word older, but I'm going to use it in this instance because some of the older, smaller ships aren't as flashy as Star of the Seas or Utopia in that matter, but they're still nice and they're still all-inclusive vacations. The food's still great, so entertainment's still good. So you can get those at even a cheaper cost. So
and those smaller ships have their own perks too. I mean, you're not dealing with anywhere close to as many people. Utopia was huge as far as the amount of people, and I think Star's going to be even bigger. So that's one aspect I'm not really looking forward to, but I will say, at least on Utopia, and so I'm sure Star will be the same, it didn't ever feel as crowded as I knew it was, because I felt like the ship was that big that it spread the people out pretty well.
Absolutely. They do a really good job. Let me put in, we got Blessing Through Connection coming in, saying hello to Denise and Danny. Hello, Blessing Through Connection. Thanks for coming by. We appreciate you. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. So, to touch on the crowdedness of cruise lines, because that's something I hear a lot too. People are, I don't want to be on a ship with 10,000 people. The people who I hear that from have never been on a ship with 10,000 people, and they have no idea what it's like being on a ship with 10,000 people. I will say I've been on some ships that felt really, really crowded, that didn't handle crowds too well. Utopia was okay. I feel like it did a decent job crowd-wise. The first day is always the craziest because everybody's got their luggage, and until the stateroom's open, it's kind of, everybody's going to the buffet, is what they want to do. So it can seem a little bit crowded on the first day. When we went on Icon of the Seas last year, it was the same way. Felt a little bit crowded the first day, but it's so wide and massive. Like even on the promenade deck, you never really felt crowded. Just doing your general daily activities on the ship. There were certain time frames where the buffet would get busy in the mornings from like 8:30 to 9. It seems to be the hot spot. Everybody wants to go. Where it would, the tables would fill up quick, stuff like that. Or when a theater show's letting out, you got to get through the crowd of people to get to the elevator. But other than that, never felt really super crowded. I'm not a big fan of huge crowds. I'm just not a crowd. I'm not going to go to a concert with 80,000 people and stand elbow to elbows with you. It's not my idea of a good time. You know what I'm saying? But I just never, like you said, the crowdedness, I just never felt like that was an issue on these bigger ships. Like everybody's afraid of it being an issue kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like most of our nights we sat at or around Sorrento's and in the promenade, just sitting and hanging out and folks getting pizza here and there. But you saw the hustle and bustle. I mean, you saw a lot of people moving in and out of that area. And we were on, like our room was on the same floor Central Park was on. So we had quick access to that. And I could say the same thing there. You saw a lot of people moving in and out, but it was never jam-packed, swallowed whole. Like I don't remember waiting super long at the deli once for anything. Like it moved quickly, it moved well. But I will say, I think the only time I felt that tightness of a crowd was changing between theater shows. And I just feel like that's to be expected. I mean, that's a lot of folks coming out while a lot of folks are waiting to go in. And the hallways just on that particular deck are a little smaller than they are everywhere else for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the art that's in the hallway there, but that was, I think, the only time I felt like it was crowded.
Well, and it can kind of be compared to, on land, if you're going to a sporting event or something big like that, there's always that bottleneck when everybody's leaving kind of thing that happens. But then after you get out of that, it's kind of smooth sailing. So I kind of pretty comparable to that. Anytime you deal with a large group of people that's in a small area like that. I will, and you've had different perspectives now of seeing Utopia and being on Disney, two totally different atmospheres. Disney being more obviously kid involved, less a party scene kind of thing, and Utopia being branded as the party ship. They wanted to really compete with Carnival and have that vibe on that ship. And me and Kaylee had just went on Utopia back in January, and we felt it was so different than any other royal ship we had been on because of that. Like you go to the pool deck and there's stuff that like kind of, and I'd be embarrassed, if I had a young kid with me to take him on, and let him see some of the things that was going on the pool deck. But if I took him on Oasis of the Seas, it wouldn't be the same because of just that vibe of Utopia, So being on Utopia of the Seas, I watched your vlog and I know you had mentioned certain things in there as well, but you saw the difference in the vibe between
and what's funny, at least to me, with Utopia is the folks that went with us, because we went with some of our closest friends on that trip. A few of them went with us on the cruise before when we went on the Disney Fantasy. So you'll see like some of the same folks. If you watch those vlogs, you'll see some of the same folks with us both times. And they had traveled Royal a few times previously before ever getting on a cruise with us. And so they were the ones when we got back from Disney that were, because in our mind, we're thinking every cruise is expensive because we don't know any better. All we've done is Disney. And they're like, you need to do Royal. Like, it's not that big of a step down, from Disney, but it's a huge step down in the price of what you're paying. So let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And within, just a few weeks of us being back from that 2023 cruise, we booked Utopia. And we booked it before any marketing really started for it, other than it being the new ship. So we were already way booked in and way paid in before they started rolling it out as the biggest weekend ever. And even in my head at that point, I'm like, well, we're going during the week. Like we went, our cruise was, it was either a Sunday to Friday or a Monday to Friday, something. I was like, so it's a little bit longer. It's not just a weekend. It won't be a full party, but that atmosphere was still there.
Yeah, definitely.
But what was funny to me, at least, is the clientele for that atmosphere wasn't there. You had more folks like us that were family friendly, family oriented, that weren't really necessarily about party, but yet they're doing their best to still do that. And I can't remember, because it feels like so much time has passed since then. The one thing that stands out to me was they did, I want to say it was like the sexiest man competition or something like that, on the Lido deck. And
Sierra's laughing. Sierra knows what you're talking about.
all of our kids are there watching this. Like they got a premium seat. They're all up in the hot tub overlooking all of this. And I'm like, well, the kids aren't going anywhere, so we need to stay here and watch this. And I mean, it was a train wreck, but it was a great train wreck, because it was all these older guys, they're in it for fun. They don't really care for the title. They're just being funny. And so it worked out. But I'm like, man, this could have gone way sideways if different people were involved. And
well, like you mentioned, if that would have been the weekend cruise, the 3-night, like Friday to Monday, whatever weekend vibe with the spring breakers on it or something like that, that could have, it could have been back in like the 80s where people are stripping on the pool deck and stuff, I mean, so could have been a totally different, it's that different vibe.
Night and day difference.
Absolutely.
Disney. But that was another reason why we were like, okay, we've got to book Star, because once we came back, our friends were like, this is not a good impression of Royal. Like, this is not the impression of Royal that we want you to have. You need to give them another shot. And so I was happy to book Star. Our youngest, Ty, he saw pictures of, the water park fairly early on about how it's going to have the biggest slides at sea, or the biggest water park at sea. And he was like, I want to do that. And so I've been nothing but thrilled that all I've seen for marketing of Star is like the best family getaway.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, here we go.
I will attest to this. And so we're booked on August 16th on Star, which is not the very first sailing. They're doing a bunch of really, really small sailings, like 1, 2, and 3-night sailings. Mm-hmm. We're booked on a 4-night on the 16th. I think the first official sailing is August 9th. So they'll have like a week to get the kinks out before I actually get on the ship, which is good. But when I booked it, because we had went on Icon, and it's the exact same ship as Icon. There's a couple of venues, like restaurants, that are going to be a little bit different offerings. They tweaked a couple of things here and there. A couple of the water slides are different, but it's really kind of copy and paste of what Icon is. So it's kind of a similar to what I've already seen. And I will attest to the family atmosphere. I know when we were on Icon, reminded me a lot of Disney, just because everything they had, this whole Surfside neighborhood is geared around kids. Like, it's designed for families to go to that neighborhood and not have to leave for an entire day. It used to be, if you go on a cruise ship, you'd have to go to the top deck to go to a water slide or go to a splash pad. But then when your kids get hungry, you got to track back to the room or go get a towel and then go to the buffet. You're walking down half the ship to get there. Royal's done a really good job with Star and Icon of the Seas of putting everything in that neighborhood to where your kids don't have to leave the splash pad. You can go right there to Surfside Bites and get a cheeseburger, or hot dog, or corn dog, whatever. They have dining. They have the kids club is located right there as well. So if you want to drop your kids off at the kids club and go to a dinner show or something, or, whatever the situation is, they've done a really good job of piecing it there for families. And what I also like about it, though, is they built with the different neighborhoods, they have that for the families. But then if you got those guys on the ship, they want the party vibe, the party atmosphere, not even that really like high-end party atmosphere like Utopia, but maybe just entertainment. Well, then you go to the promenade, and they got, the different bars and venues on the promenade, or Central Park's got the jazz band bar, and then they got the dueling pianos. So you have the different neighborhoods that kind of break up that atmosphere a little bit. So you don't have the 6-year-old kids standing next to the adults at the club. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they've done a really, really good job with that. I'm trying to get caught up real quick in the chat here. Danny's saying hello. Denise says Nerdhurst, throwing her thing out there. Travels PMB is here. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. Saying hello to everybody. CNS is here. Welcome in, CNS. Hope you're having a really good Wednesday as well. Sherman's in the house. So Sierra, I know your mic don't work, but if you have anything that you want to comment, throw that in the chat too, because I saw you laughing and stuff earlier. And Sierra's like, she asked if she can come on tonight too, and I'm like, yeah, because it would be good to have a kid's perspective on it as well.
Absolutely, it's always.
And she's been on, I don't even know how many total you've been on, Sierra, but she's been on a wide range of smaller ships up to Icon. She did Oasis class Icon. She's done like the Voyager, the Seas. So she's been on a different variations of size of ship. So she's seen a little bit of everything from size wise and what to expect on a cruise. So her ideas of a fun time might be different than mine, might be different than yours, but that's the thing I love about cruising too, though, is you have so many different cultures of people with different wants and different things that they enjoy, and they're all coming together in one place and having a great time and a great vacation and mixing it all in with everybody. It's not just for one person or one type of person. It's just, I don't know. It's something, I call myself a cruise nerd all the time, because since I started doing it, I was like, man, I just fell in love with every part of it. You know what I mean? If I want to gamble, there's a casino I go, other than Disney. Disney doesn't have casinos, but
that's a big help for a lot of people.
It is. It really is. If you're a gambler, you know what I mean? If you're not a gambler, not so much a big deal. But yeah, so a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different ways to look at cruising. So you got Star of the Seas book, you got a couple more books after that as well. What is one of the biggest decision makers that goes through your head when you say, okay, let's look at booking a cruise? Where do you go to first? What are you looking for when you book a cruise? Are you looking for itinerary? Are you looking for ship? Are you looking for a specific activity maybe that this cruise ship offers as opposed to others? Or maybe it's going to a specific island that you have not visited yet. What is some of the biggest deciding factors when you planning or booking a family trip?
It varies for us based on what it is we're trying to do and what it is we're trying to get out of it. So, for instance, us booking Star, like, it started with the fact that we wanted to give Royal a second shot, and Ty had already said, I want to go on Star. So because of that, we just looked at what itineraries Star had. And then from there, it really became about the ports for us and where is it going to stop this time that works for our break. Because all we have done up to this point, 3 of our 4 cruises went Eastern Caribbean or went Bahamas. So we've never done the Western Caribbean. My wife's never been to Mexico. So we're like, okay, let's find Star, let's find Western Caribbean. We'll get a mix of both. And so that's what this particular cruise gave us. But for the next 2 that we have booked for 26 and 27, both of which are on Carnival, which we've never done a single Carnival. But with those, it ended up not being about the itinerary, not the ship, not the brand whatsoever, but was about the people that we're going with. So instead of worrying about anything and everything else, it was, does it fit in our schedule? Yes, it does. It works on a break that we can go and we're able to take off work. And then, for the first one we booked was the Unhinged cruise in 27. And it's like, this is the whole community. Like, we got to make this work if we can go. So I may never get off the ship outside of the private island, because I'm just there to mingle and hang out and have a good time with everybody. And then we just booked our 26th one, which is over Thanksgiving. And it's the same cruise that the Cam Fam decided to book a few weeks back. And so our mentality behind that one was it's a week-long cruise. It's perfect timing. We love the Cam Fam, love interacting with them, have been wanting to get the boys and the Cam Fam girls together because we think they would hit it off and have a good time. And so that's all we really cared about. I mean, it'll go to Celebration K, which is awesome because I can't wait to see that. But besides that, it was, who are we hanging out with? Who are we going to have a good time with? Because as weird as it is to say, and I'll go ahead and include these 3 that we have yet to go on, only one of these 7 cruises that we will have taken by the end of 2027 will it have just been us. That's it. And that's this Star. Star is the only one that we haven't booked with other friends or with other families. So this will actually be the first time that it's just the Coker 4 being able to decide who and what we want to do and when, and not have to coordinate with anybody.
Well, and I think part of it, like you touched on, is the cruise community. Sometimes people can make a cruise better than it actually is. Sometimes they can make it worse in some cases, I guess, depending on who you're cruising with. But there's different, and that's what I kind of was touching on a little bit of the diversity in cruising. You could go as a solo cruiser, you can go as a big group of people and still have the same amount of enjoyment on a cruise. I went with friends. I went with my kids one-on-one. We went as a big family all together. So we've gone in different variants, and I think everyone was enjoyable in a different way. I don't think none of them have had a bad experience, but they're definitely enjoyable in a different way. If I go on a cruise with Sierra, it's going to be different than if I go on a cruise with Cole, because of their personalities and what they enjoy doing, and with the stuff we enjoy spending time together doing while we're on whatever particular ship we're on. So I think going with people, like I wanted to go to Celebration Key. That was a big thing for me. I've been wanting, since Carnival released that. Obviously, doing a vlog, I've been to Coco Cay quite a few times, so I kind of wanted to do that to kind of compare them, but I haven't been on Carnival in quite a few years. Well, then, I met this community of people on here, and they're talking about the Unhinged trip, and I'm like, man, that's perfect. I want to go on that class of ship. I want to go to Celebration Key anyway. I get to go meet all these people, hang out with a great group of people, a great community on here. So it just kind of worked out. I would have never booked that trip if you'd asked me 6 months ago if I was going to book that trip on Carnival in 27. Absolutely not. I would have never thought about it. But like you mentioned, sometimes people or community makes a difference in what you're booking and what you're looking at as well. So definitely different perspectives. So.
I mean, and my kids are both kind of the same way too, as far as opposites. My older one is much more laid back. He wants to do chill activities that, isn't gonna, about the only things they have in common is they could both spend hours in an arcade. Although the arcade on Utopia is pretty poor. But that's one thing they have in common. The young one is go, 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 go. Where can I run? Where can I unleash all this energy, whether it be in the pool, on the water slides, on the sports court? He's that kind. My older one, find him a chair and he may, and if the movie's on the screen, he could just sit there and he wouldn't move if somebody'd bring him food. That's the difference there. Or if he could order food to his seat, he wouldn't leave. So that's a little bit of a difference. But now that they're both getting older, it actually trends better for us away from Disney. Simply because now that they're, the oldest he's 13. So he'll be 13 when we cruise. The youngest is 10. So one is a teenager. The other is a pre-nature, but he's there. So they don't need the characters. And
Right.
that's really what you're paying the premium for, is the Disney name by that point. So they don't need to see Mickey or Jack Sparrow or the Marvel superheroes. They're too cool to wait in a line for that now anyway. So
yeah, and as they get older and they get into those teenage years, they're like, my kids are the same way. Sierra and Cole, Kaylee are all the same. They care less about even the kids club or the activities going on in the kids club. Now it's more so about activities on the ship. The water slide's cool, the flow rider, the younger ones, I mean, they got carousels and stuff on the ship, but what activities are included geared around their ages is more so what they look at, and what kind of stuff they can do while they're on the ship, other than, the Disney characters, because they don't care about that anymore. They want to go with their teenage friends and have a good time. It's just that personalities are different. Everybody's different, has a different idea of a good time, but there's that wide range. And I think, again, Royal's done a really good job with that, of offering that on their bigger ships with all the different activities and the rock climbing, the things that are included, that every kid could have a little piece of whatever they enjoy. I couldn't agree more, though, about the Disney being more geared towards smaller kids. See here who we got in the chat. Big Murph is going to be on the Star of the Seas sailing with me. I'm looking forward to that, Big Murph. We are definitely going to get together and get a drink and sit down and conversate. I don't know how you chat while you're in here, Zach. I can't.
I try to wait until you're talking, because I can listen and type. But if it's me talking, forget it. I wouldn't be able to type and concentrate on words coming out of my mouth and what I'm typing as well. But it has taken some time for me to get that going. But yeah, I saw that Sierra wrote that, and I'm big. I love cruise trivia. I love it because, again, Webster. I have all that stupid knowledge up here. I love showing that off and seeing if I can win something. And that's actually something I did not do on Utopia. And I think that's part of the reason why I didn't have as good of a time, was because I didn't do everything that I enjoyed doing. But
it's funny, she mentioned the trivia, because our vlogs that we got, I'm months behind. Like, I'm just now releasing the beginning of the Voyager of the Seas vlog that me and Sierra went on back in February. That's how many videos I had staged and edited, waiting. I was so behind on everything. I finally starting to get caught up. But we're the Voyager of the Seas that me and Sierra went on, I think we did day one, just released last week. But most of that cruise, that's what we did, was trivia, because that's what Sierra likes to do. And things kind of changed for her a little bit activities wise after she had her car accident. She's limited to a wheelchair. She tried to do Flow Rider on Voyager.
That was so funny. That was the funniest part of that whole vlog, was y'all back and forth with that. That was
the guy at the sign up for the waiver. She literally walked up to him and she's like, "Hey, can I do the Flow Rider?" And he's like, "Well," he's like, "unfortunately, no, because the handicap ramp that they had that takes the wheelchairs down the steps was out of service." He didn't tell her she couldn't do it because her legs don't work. He just said because the ramp. So I was like, he would have full-fledged thrown you on that surfboard and let you just boogie board it.
Sign the waiver first.
Right, sign a waiver. Sign it. She would have probably done it too if I would have let her. But she just went up to him just to give him a hard time to see what he would say. But no, with her being limited in the activities that she can't really do anymore, like trivia is a big one for her because it's something she enjoys doing. It's something I enjoy doing. We can do it together. Now, we were absolutely horrid at trivia the entire trip on Voyager. I don't think we won a single one, did we, Sierra? I don't think we did a true or false trivia. I think it was on day 3 or something like that. It was literally true or false, and we missed over half of them. It was horrible.
Well, you got a 50% chance. It just didn't work.
Right. It didn't go in our favor. But no, it's just something we enjoyed doing. I mean, we were horrible at it and did bad, but we enjoyed it and had a good time. And that trip was back in February, and now like Sierra's still laughing about it because of how bad we did. So it's making a memory, even though it's not, you don't got a trophy for winning first place or the little keychain that you win or whatever, but it's something you're going to remember that you don't really need that item because you're going to remember how bad we were.
Just about having a good time. Like my favorite memory will be experiencing the water show on Utopia, because I had heard going in that the water show was really, really good. And it is like pulling teeth to get my kids to go to shows. Always has been. Even when they were younger, like at Disney, if it was a show or a ride, if it was a show, keep going. They don't care.
So when you went on Utopia, you didn't do the water show on Utopia?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'll remember more than anything is that show.
I got you.
That was mind blowing. That water stunt show was better than anything on Disney, period. And so I was thrilled to see that Star has another version, like another new version of that show. And then getting the boys to see the Back to the Future musical is going to be the easiest show I've ever gotten them to see. Because I mean, who doesn't love Back to the Future?
Right.
So that was a big selling point for me on going on this was that's the show. Yeah, we're booking this.
So I saw yesterday on a vlog, and I don't know if this is 100% true. I'm going to find out when I get on the ship. But on Royal Caribbean ships, ever since they came out with the Voyager class back in the late 90s, on their promenade, like the mall street, if you haven't been on Royal Caribbean, they have their Royal Promenade. It's literally like a walk down the middle of the ship, and it's like a mall. You have bars, restaurants, shops on both sides. But they've always had a staple on theirs where they put an old like car on the promenade and put teddy bears in it, and have that car sitting there on the promenade deck. I saw yesterday in a vlog where they're going to put the DeLorean from Back to the Future on the promenade.
So
they don't know if it's going to stay. Yeah. So they don't know if it's going to stay or if it's just like an advertising thing. I really hope that's the case because that would be phenomenal to see.
That is a day one picture, Barry. If that is there,
absolutely,
you should be a picture of that.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, even if it's just for a limited time, there's no way it's only a month. So if it's there for you, then I highly feel like it would be there for us a month later.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to figure that's probably not the easiest thing to remove from the ship. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Without dry docking it, and they're not going to dry dock it that soon.
Right. But they opened up reservations for our sailing for all of the shows. They have 2 different ice shows. I made reservations, the Comedian, the Back to the Future show, obviously. But the Back to the Future show for us, next to the reservation, it said preview. So I don't know if they're going to have the full show ready when we go on. But I was surprised they didn't have for me to be able to make reservations for the Aqua Dive show yet. It's going to be Pirates and Mermaids, I believe, is what they're calling the dive show on Star of the Seas. Okay. But they haven't had that in the list for me to make reservations. So it's one of those things when you get on a new ship, you know what I mean? It's an inaugural. They might not be totally ready with every aspect of it, but they're still going to start sailing. Yeah. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see a glimpse of at least some of that kind of stuff. But I have to agree with you. The dive shows on those ships are nothing short of amazing. Some of them have the guys up high that are doing like the walk along a tightrope, and then they're doing acrobatics in the air, and then just diving from a moving ship from the height that they do too is amazing. So
yeah, I mean, it's really easy to see why they have to cancel that for wind. Really easy to understand once you see what they're doing.
Now with Star of the Season, they had it on Icon as well. They moved it indoors into their Aquadome, so they don't cancel it nowhere near as often as they do on the Oasis class ships. So they still do sometimes because of weather and the ship moving or whatnot, but like rain and just wind typically doesn't cancel it right off the bat, so they're able to do it a little bit more. From my understanding, is why they move part of it indoors. So positive thinking that you don't have to miss that show when you get on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I always do is I always try to book that show. Like if I'm going on a 7-night sailing, I always try to do it on the first or second night. So that way, if they do cancel it, you have a chance later on in the sailing to be able to go see that. So let's see who else we have in the chat. Yoda's Blessed Life, welcome in. Good evening, good evening. Have to going on live. See y'all later. I appreciate you coming by. Thank you, thank you. Here's Zach doing all this typing. I gotta learn to multitask, y'all. I feel like so behind. Sierra's my technology person, y'all. I'd be totally lost without Sierra. Yes, Zach, you're going on Unhinged. Me and Sierra, as of right now, are going as well. So definitely looking forward to that. Celebration Key, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking to that. I wanted to do the Carnival Jubilee, but that's the same class as the Celebration. So I think
fairly similar.
Yeah, I think it'll be just fine. So he can order food to his chair through the app on Carnival. You can.
I saw Sherman wrote that, and I'm like, when I tell him that, he'll be ecstatic. Like he probably won't move. There will be a day or two where he will find a chair and probably will not move.
So I have to tell this story. Sierra's going to laugh as soon as I tell it too. We went out as a big family. I took all 4 kids, the kid's mom and I. We went on Oasis of the Season. We got 2 staterooms and kind of split up the kiddos. Well, it was late at night. It was, I don't know, like 10 o'clock at night. I was about to go to the casino for a little bit. So their mom was with them all in the 2 rooms and decided to order room service. I get back to the room and the counters in both staterooms, the little desk area, is stacked halfway up the TV with to go, like the little plastic containers they deliver the food. Like I'm like, what is going on here? Like what is all this food? So the next day, because they were all sleeping, the next day I asked her mom, I'm like, why all this food? And she's like, well, there's 5 of us. And if I'm going to pay the $8 service charge to order room service, I'm going to order what the hell I want to order. And they ordered like half the menu off freaking room service. Oh, it was so much food. And they ate it. But I was like, man. So I feel it having delivered it to your chair. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's going to be something people are going to be utilizing a lot.
I feel like the only thing I got room service on Utopia was wings, because I knew the only place that you could find them elsewhere was in Playmakers. Mm-hmm. And we never made the time or the plans to go have a sit down paid meal, simply because we'd already done Utopia Station. And I was like, I got to have some wings before I get off here. But that was the only thing I think we ended up doing room service wise, was I got that late one night.
I think me and Sierra on our Voyager vlog, we actually mentioned that because they didn't have Playmakers on Voyager of the Seas. But we had been there on other ships and ordered the wings from Playmakers, and you go to Playmakers and the wings aren't super expensive. It's like $9.95 or something like that I think you get like 8 wings. They're not super expensive. They're kind of in line with the sports bar back home, something like that. But we saw on the room service menu, you pay that $7.95 room service charge and you can order as much as you want. And I told Sierra the one night, I said, man, I want wings. Hell, I can, instead of going to Playmakers and spending $10 for 8 wings, order an a la carte, I could order 40 wings at room service and only pay the service charge.
You absolutely could.
8 wings. So yeah, we were having
get them in every flavor they got.
Absolutely. Mandy's in here saying hello. CCA, how we doing, Liz? Good evening, good evening.
Oh, Crazy Joe is here.
Concession stand. Is that one of the places you go to vlog on your food vlog, Zach?
No, Crazy Joe.
No,
Crazy Joe is one of my big movie buff friends.
Ah, okay. I just saw concession stand. I thought maybe okay, that makes sense. Concession stand of the movies.
He's got two separate channels. One where he shows like everyday life vlogs, stuff like that, and then this is his movie channel where he does movie reviews,
okay,
and, home media releases and stuff like that. But I can't believe I missed him. All that attention I paid to the chat, and I missed Joe coming.
Welcome in, Crazy Joe's. I appreciate you being here as well.
Joe's one of the lucky ones that got to see Superman early, so I got to watch him talk about Superman earlier today.
Nice. Y'all throw your channels in the chat too. If you're a vlogger, throw your channel in the chat so everybody can follow everybody. Spread the love around a little bit. Mandy's saying hello. There's a Cam fam. Welcome in. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Oh, man. All right. I'm trying to get down here to the bottom of the chat a little bit anyway. Zach is live again. So I've been working the last 4 nights. I got so much to catch up on and watch everybody's replays. So that my schedule at work's changed a little bit. So I've been behind on everything. I haven't been on YouTube as much, and I'm feeling left out, like I'm missing everything. It's not my fault. So I did rope Zach into coming live tonight. I actually, what I text you like 2 or 3 hours before the show or something like that. It was late afternoon.
Yeah, it was earlier than that though. I think it was around 1 o'clock or 1:30. So not too late, but luckily we didn't have anything going on, so I could hop on.
I'm glad you were able to make it. I was like, man, I want to get somebody on and talk cruising, but it's like, man, Sierra, I talk cruising with her every day, and she gets kind of tired of me yapping about it. So
and poor Sierra can't even talk with us tonight. She's having to type to communicate.
I know her mic's not working. I have to figure out what's going on with that. She's a tech person, and her mic's not working. My mic's working fine. I'm just gonna say that.
Watch it be one of those things where you'll reboot your computer, Sierra, and it'll be working like that.
Right? Something goofy like that. Saying hello. All right, I'm getting close down here to the bottom of the chat. So we touched on what decisions go into making you book a cruise, or all of those aspects of cruising. What is the one thing about cruising? I'm trying to figure out how to word this. The one thing you can do on a cruise ship that you cannot do on land, or the thing you appreciate the most about cruises that you can't appreciate on a land trip. Like, what is the big stark difference other than price? I don't want to use price point as a because I feel like cruises are a better overall value because of everything's all inclusive. So I don't really want to use price as the reason. But is it sheer location of not having to get in your car and drive from place to place? I hear some people say if obviously people are going out to the club and stuff, or they're drinking and going to the bars, they don't have to worry about driving home or getting an Uber. I've heard people with that, but not everybody drinks. So what's that one thing cruise wise that you feel you can't get on land? Like what?
Mine may be completely different from other people, but it's really a personality focused for me. It would be on sea days more so than anything else. But when I'm on land and everyday life, and when my wife hears this, she's gonna chuckle because she knows it's true, and she hates it sometimes. I'm a planner. I have to plan everything. Like A to B, the whole vacation day, it's XYZ, it's going to plan, we're doing this. And on sea days, I can throw that out the window and I can be okay with that. Like if the only thing I have to worry about is a specific 10-15 minute window for dinner, or we've booked a show at a specific time and we need to be there, but I can do whatever for the rest of the day. And, it's okay if I miss this activity or that activity. I can just chill here, or, if we're at the water park and we lose track of time, that's fine, because, and I feel like that's probably the biggest takeaway for me is when I get on a cruise ship, literally a lot of my worrying and cares go out the window, and I cannot turn that off anywhere on land.
And I think that's a great point you made too about like reservations wise. Like say you're on land, you make a nice dinner reservation at a nice restaurant, okay? Say for 7 o'clock at night. Well, if you get hung up at a water park, or say you're at an amusement park during the day and you get out of the park late because you're enjoying yourself, you can't just show up 2 hours late to your reservation at the restaurant, because they're going to look at you and be like, sorry, you missed your reservation. At least when on a cruise ship, if that happens, you're not restricted, even though maybe you had dinner reservations at your dining time or whatever it was. There's food open practically all day, all night, and tons of options. So you can just, all right, plan B, we're going to get pizza, or we're going to the buffet, or we're going to, you have that available on a cruise ship, to where you could go to a different restaurant, but the restaurants may not be open at the time you want to go on land. You may have to have a reservation there and you don't have one, so there's so many variables I feel like on land that are different than are on cruise ships. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. That's a very good point, is the freedom to do what you want when you want. Because Sierra will tell you, I'm a planner too. Like even so on cruises, like I'll get on a cruise and we'll look, and it's not like hardcore, we have to do this at this time kind of thing, but we'll go through the daily planner normally the night before, and we'll just kind of highlight or mark the things that we want to do. And then if we get to them, great. Or if we see something better, if we're enjoying ourselves doing something better, we'll look at it. We'll say, okay, do we want to stop this and go do that? Or do we just want to stay here and enjoy our, what I mean? We have that freedom and flexibility to be able to do that. So I think that's a great and valid point. I love it. I feel like there's so much value wise and so much opportunity for everybody, and no matter what their personality is and what they enjoy doing, or whether they're a planner or whether they're the type of person that hates planners, because there's those freelancers out there that don't want to plan nothing, and they just want to go, they'll stop here if they see something they like. And I feel like every single person has a place on a cruise ship. You know what I mean? So
what's beautiful is on a cruise, there's so much of this last second, I just walked upon this thing, I'm not in a rush to anything, let me enjoy this for what it is, whatever. Like the big thing that comes to my mind is when we were going to dinner and we just so happened to get on the elevator with the roving piano. I'm like,
I saw that in your vlog, and it's something you never expect. You don't plan on having the door open and see that guy, and you're like, what? Yeah. And then he's going full force on the piano, and they're in the elevator. It's a good time, It's
Now on land, Zach is probably frustrated because I got to get where I'm going, and now I've got this random guy playing a piano. But on a cruise ship, I'm like, yeah, I can get down with this.
Absolutely. So are you an entertainment person at all? Do you do live music, or what does your nighttime on a cruise ship consist of?
I tend to like the big stuff more so than anything else. Like, so if there's, and I guess I'm trained on the Disney route with that, is there was one big thing every night. And, whether it was, a Beauty and the Beast show, or we're premiering this brand new Disney movie that's in theaters now that you can watch here in our main theater tonight. Like I am a one big event of the night kind of person. So did we book the Aqua show for tonight? That's the one big thing. Did we book the Back to the Future musical? That'll be my one big thing. So I'm not somebody that has to do a lot of stuff. Like depending on if we go to the early show or the late show, if we go to the late show, that might be the end of our night. If we go to the early show, okay, we could go get ice cream. We could go get pizza. Jess may want to go to the casino. Like it's up in the air at that point. But my mindset's always just, what's that one big event, or do we even have one? Is this night open because we didn't want to go see ice skating or whatever it may be?
I like it. I like it. I like I'm a live music person too. I like listening to live music. For me, like a guitar player in the pub singing at night and playing the guitar was always something I enjoyed going to late in the evening, go sit down for 30, 45 minutes, get a drink and just listen to some music. And it actually surprised me when I took Anaya, my youngest. She's 8 years old now. I think she was 7 last year when we went. And Royal Caribbean charges for their kids club after 10 o'clock at night. You have to pay. It's $10 an hour. Still, I mean, you're going to pay a babysitter at home $10 an hour to watch your kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
at least.
To me, if you're an adult and you want to go out and enjoy yourself, it's money well spent. But I would go pick her up at 10 o'clock at night. And she's like, Dad, I want to stay. Let me stay till midnight. I'm like, $20. All right, I'll let you stay and go back to the casino. Well, then I go pick her up at midnight. I'll be like, what do you want to do, kid? And she's like, I want to go get a piece of pizza and go to the pub and listen to the guitar player. And she's the type of kid that will talk to you and pester you until you pay attention to her and talk to her.
I've got one of those.
It was a 3-night cruise. By the end of the 3rd night, when we were getting ready to go back to the stateroom, she had the guitar player in the pub he's from Brazil. She had him following me on Facebook so she could find out what the next ship he was going to be on was. And I got told that I have to book that ship so she can go back and listen to the pub player on his next contract. So she's that type of person. I'm the type that likes live music, so I'm like, hey, he was good. I'll go book that trip so we can go hang out and have a good time and listen to him again. So Sierra's laughing again because she knows that's true too. So, but just like I said, different personalities, and there's something for everybody, no matter what your vibe on. No matter whether you're, like you said, a big show, just live music, you want to sit in a hot tub by the pool, you want to go to the casino, whatever your vibe is. I feel like it's there with cruising. Well, it's 8 o'clock. I don't want to keep you on here all night long. I know you're probably you said you had a busy day. I'm trying to get through the bottom of the chat here real quick. We only got a couple more to go. I'm going to get you down here. Canadian Family Life saying hello. Good evening. Welcome in. I know people's been coming in and out, so I don't know who all is still in here, but I appreciate all of you coming in. To Zach saying it as well. I've wanted to do this. I love getting other people's perspectives of cruising. I bug my kids about it all the time and talk to them about it all the time, literally every day. It irritates them. It gets to the point where Sierra tells me, oh my God, Dad, can you talk about something besides cruises? And I'm like, about that, when are we booking our next trip? So that's what I'm always looking forward to. If I'm not on a ship after about 4 weeks, I get kind of giddy and kind of crazy to where I want to be on a ship. And I've been that person. I like to book my stuff way ahead of time, but I've been that person where I'm like, okay, what's leaving in 2 weeks? I got to get on a ship and book it and go. So, though I will say this though, Zach, the more you go, man, the more you're gonna get there. Big Murph, I do want to touch on this real quick. It does have 2 different ice shows, Big Murph. I reserved both of them. I think now on Icon of the Seas, they had 2 ice shows. They had one for the kids and kind of kids based, and one more just the regular ice show. But yeah, it's got 2 different ice shows on Star of the Seas. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So I'm going to go really quick as everybody's saying hello. I do want to get to the bottom of the chat here real quick before I jump off of here. But I appreciate the hell out of y'all. Uncle Dave's in here as well. Welcome in, Uncle Dave. Najuma's in here as well. Really, I can't believe I missed this. Shake. Liz, you don't have to do that, Liz. I appreciate that. I don't have my shaking dance yet. See, Sierra, I need my tech person to get me that flashy thing to play on the screen because I don't have. Sierra will tell you, y'all don't want me dancing. Y'all don't want me dancing. Liz, I appreciate the hell out of you, though. I'm glad to see Zach being a nice, wholesome guy for a change. He's different on Saturday nights. Oh, man. I will say this, Zach. I cannot wait for the Unhinged cruise. I cannot wait.
It's going to be so much fun.
I tell my kids all the time, like the community of people that I've met on here now is nothing short of amazing. I did sports cards for a little while on a platform called Whatnot, and it was kind of similar to this. The only difference is you didn't, like, I was on a live stream doing sports cards, but I didn't get to see everybody else on a live stream. It was just a chat. So having this and being in other people's live streams and having the be able to invite guests on and just talk about things that you have in common or enjoy, and just kind of learn about different people and different cultures and stuff.
It brings it more personal.
It absolutely does. Absolutely does. Don't shake it at the meetup. I promise I won't be shaking it at the meetup. Oh my Lord. Oh, y'all, I appreciate the hell out of y'all coming by. There's so much more I want to ask, so much more I want to get into, but I'm going to respect everybody's time. It's 8:05 already. Zach, I appreciate you coming by, especially on short notice. I kind of sprung it on you this afternoon. Sierra, we'll get your microphone working, and maybe you can check in on the next one. Enjoy your evening, sir. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you,
y'all. Until next time, have a great rest of your week, everybody. And remember, if you're not cruising, you're losing, baby.
Good night, everybody.